Hi everyone. Today I'll be talking about how we can tackle application questions. I think this is one of the more challenging problems that you guys always face, so I decided to create this video to help you guys out with it. When you reach an application question, most of us will be panicking because it's something that we have not seen before or it looks very difficult. But not to worry, I think as long as we follow these 3 steps, we'll be able to handle it. So first thing first, we should understand what is the topic and concept tested. I think this is quite easy to identify. Then next, sometimes the question itself gives us clues as to how to answer the question. So for example, if there is something in part B that we're not too sure what the question is asking for, it's always a good thing to go and check out what is part A. And lastly, this is the point that most people miss out on and lose a lot of marks over because they understand what is the concept, yes, but they do not link it back to the question. Okay, so we're going to understand how we can apply these 3 steps to answer some application questions that we observe in the O-level bio paper. So first one, we will see this 2014 paper 2, FRQ 9. I think this is the one that I have gone through in class before, but some of us are still confused. So let's look at 9A. Now, describe how light energy is converted to chemical energy and stored in carbohydrates. So there's 2 parts to this question. So number 1 here and number 2, how it's being stored. So many people will go on to talk about, photolysis of water, light-dependent reaction, light-independent reaction, and then, splitting of water molecules to hydrogen ions and oxygen. But this is all not inside the syllabus. Okay, so what they're asking here is quite straightforward. Okay, so let's look at how we're going to obtain these 4 points. First of all, just write down the process. Okay, whatever it is, right, please write down the key terms. For example, diffusion, osmosis, and in this case, the key word is photosynthesis. Now, they did not say what is the process explicitly in the question itself, so as long as you write this down, you probably can be awarded a mark already. Okay, and the next one is to just basically write down what is this photosynthesis about. So explaining the equation in words is when carbon dioxide and water are used to form oxygen and glucose in the presence of light. Now we've already answered, what photosynthesis is about. We're going to answer where it is. Okay, so it occurs in the chloroplast. All right, that's the third point. And the last point, point number 4, will be directed towards this second part of the question here, which is how is it being stored in carbohydrates? So you can write down that glucose is converted to starch for storage. Of course, you can say that it's also converted to sucrose and then it's stored in the fruit. That's fine as well. Okay, but over here, just give an example of how this carbohydrate, and name it, and how it's being stored. Now, part B is the one where people face more difficulty in. There is a greenhouse, and then they ask us to suggest the conditions that can be controlled to ensure the maximum growth of the plants. And oh my goodness, it is 5 marks. Okay, so how am I going to dig out these 5 points? If you're not exactly sure what part B is about, what is this maximum growth of plants? Okay, a good thing is to, what we mentioned earlier, look back at the first part of the question or the question context. If you look at point A, right, they're actually talking about photosynthesis. So point B is actually linked to photosynthesis. So maximum growth is actually linked to the photosynthesis of plants. How do we achieve the maximum photosynthesis? So now we've identified that they're talking about photosynthesis. I'm sure we all know the different conditions, right, or my limiting factors of photosynthesis. Now, many of us will be bursting with ideas, but it's good that we take a systematic approach. Okay, so what I like to do is I'll write down the equation first so I don't miss anything out. So over here we have carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of light, and chlorophyll gives us oxygen and glucose. This one I'm sure everyone knows. How do I ensure maximum growth of the plants? We look at this equation. Carbon dioxide. Of course, I should increase carbon dioxide, right? Now, but if you write down increased carbon dioxide, it's not enough because the question says how can the conditions be controlled? Going back to step 3, right? Remember just now step 3 was that I need to link the question or my answer back to the context of the question. So if I say increase carbon dioxide, tell me how, okay? Because they want to say how is it specifically controlled. So I can say to pump in carbon dioxide into the glass house. Some more innovative and creative people will also tell me that you can have some animals there because they respire and they will actually give out carbon dioxide. I think that's a fair point. It's logical and it's quite unique. I don't think you'll be faulted for that. Now, next, we look at water. Okay, so of course, we should know that water needs to be increased as well. And how do we do that? We can ensure regular watering of the plant. Okay, or for some of you who take geog, you can say proper irrigation. You don't have to write down both, but these are just some examples as to how we can control. Because if you write down just increase water, you're not fully answering the question. Okay, so you got to push yourself that one step further and answer how is it going to be done. Now, the third thing that we're going to look at, okay, so number 1, carbon dioxide, number 2, water. Third thing that we can change is light. Okay, so obviously we know that light intensity is a limiting factor of photosynthesis. So how do I increase light? I can actually install lights. Okay, because the glass house is already glass, it's transparent, right? So how more can I make it even brighter in the house is that I can install lights so that the plant can photosynthesize 24/7. Because I think one of the main limitations of light is that, at night when it's dark, plants obviously cannot photosynthesize. Or when it's rainy or cloudy, then the light intensity will decrease and this will cause photosynthesis to decrease as well. Okay, so if we install lights, then we actually overcome all of these challenges and we can ensure the maximum growth of plants. Part 4, chlorophyll. Now, is it possible to actually increase chlorophyll in a plant? Not really, right? So even though I've listed all of these points, you must be able to identify which one we can change. So we can't change chlorophyll unless I change the whole species of a plant. Maybe there's something that is even more green or has more leaves. And this is not quite possible or not really answering the question, so we'll not talk about that. Now the products are oxygen and glucose, and even if we change these two things, it's also not going to change the photosynthesis rate because these are not the reactants. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3 points. Are there any other factors that result in greater photosynthesis? Now we must remember that photosynthesis is an enzyme reaction. An enzyme have optimum pH and also optimum temperature. So we can talk about pH as a 4th point. How do we change pH? I can add chemicals to the soil or by adding fertilizers. Okay, so I'm sure all of you take chemistry. You know that when you add different chemicals to the soil, it changes the pH, and different plants grow best at different pH. Right? Some plants even have different colored flowers when the soil is too acidic or alkaline. So that is how we can make sure that it's optimum. And we must also make sure that the temperature is optimum. Temperature, how do we do it? We can actually have a thermostat or we can have a heater. Most countries that have glass house normally are temperate countries, so they have cooler weather than us. So I think as long as we have a heater, or you tell me that it's maintained at around 37 or 30 plus degrees Celsius, that will definitely increase the rate of photosynthesis. So I have 5 different things that I can talk about here. Do I need to write all 5 because it is 5 marks? Not necessarily, because we must also answer the very first thing, which is we must link maximum growth to maximum photosynthesis so that we can qualify our answer. Okay, so this will be the very first thing that I should write down. Then as long as you choose perhaps 3 other conditions to talk about and you explain it, I think you can get the 5 marks already. Okay, so this is one approach that I like to take when I'm answering questions that I'm not familiar with. So number 1, I identified the context, which is photosynthesis. Number 2, I try to look around the question. So I look at part A to confirm that this is about factors of photosynthesis, and part 3 is I link it back. Okay, so many people will just stop at increase carbon dioxide, increase water, but you have to tell me how it is controlled to fully answer the question. There is another similar question for the FRQ 10 or question. If you look at part A, describe properties of enzymes, 6 marks. I think so everyone can do it. So number 1, biological catalysts that speed up reactions by decreasing activation energy. Number 2, remain unchanged. Okay, so they're required in small amounts. They are highly specific, okay, because they have an active site complementary to substrate. Number 4, they have optimum temperature. So they're inactive at low temperatures and they denature at high temperatures. Number 5, they also have optimum pH and it denatures at extreme pH. And last but not least, they are protein in nature. Okay, now you do not need to list down all of these 6 because you see some of them I have additional explanation over here to expound on what this point is about. So even if I have, for example, the first 4, I think it should be enough to get these 6 marks. Alright, a good thing is to also use the number of lines that is given as a gauge to how long you should write your answer. Now, let's take a look at part B again, because part B is where people will stumble. Biological washing powders, okay, or detergents will contain 1 or more enzymes. Okay, so what are the advantages of using biological washing powders compared to those without enzymes? Question number 1, what is this topic? Okay, we know that it is on enzymes. So we're very clear. Now, number 2, does the question context help me? So if I look at the part A of the question, I realize that it's describing properties of enzymes. So actually I can use this to help to answer part B. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how to link the properties to advantages. Okay, we're going to do it systematically. And then number 3, make sure that you answer the question. Meaning whatever I talk about, I cannot just say increase rate of reaction or what. I must say help to wash the clothes faster or something like that. Number 1, so biological catalysts speed up reactions by lowering activation energy. So what is the advantage if I speed up the reaction? That means when I wash clothes, when I use enzymes, it will be faster. Okay, so maybe the washing cycle can be decreased. Now, even if you do not know this term, just say it takes a shorter time to wash clothes. As the enzyme speed up reaction. Now, let's look at number 2. They remain unchanged, so they are required in small amounts. So, if I think about this as a detergent, that means I require less amount of detergent. And is that advantage? Of course. So, I spend less and I can actually wash more clothes with a smaller amount. So, you can tell me it's more cost effective, or you can just tell me that, I use a smaller amount of detergent per wash. Looking at point 3, it says that enzymes are highly specific, so I can only bind to certain substrates. Now, how would this apply to washing powders? Normally when we wash clothes, we're trying to remove specific stains. Having enzymes will actually be better than normal detergents because what normal detergents do is it's just soap. Then they try to immerse the entire stain with soap and then try to get it to dissolve in water, but they're not really breaking it down. Okay, but enzymes, they are specific. So for example, if I have lipase that is inside the biological washing powder, then it can actually help to digest any fat stains, meaning like curry. It is more effective stain removal compared to conventional powders. Number 4, having an optimum temperature. What temperature do we normally wash clothes at? I think some of you might not know because you all don't wash your own clothes. Okay, but I think normally people wash under tap water or their washing machine. Sometimes you can configure it to wash at very high temperatures, 80 degrees Celsius. Not sure why you're trying to kill some bacteria in the clothes. Okay, yeah, so having the information that optimum temperature will allow enzymes to work faster, it means that not just it becomes faster, because it's just enzymes, but as long as I wash it in a warm temperature, maybe about 37 degrees Celsius, it can be even faster. So think about it as washing it in warm water for 15 minutes compared to a normal maybe 1 hour wash cycle. So what we can write down as an advantage is that if we wash at a warm temperature, okay, so you can specify maybe 30 degrees Celsius, it enables a faster wash. And when I wash faster, I actually save electricity compared to letting the washing machine run for 2 hours. Same thing, optimum pH. How do we change pH? So in the previous question, we add fertilizers and chemicals. Over here, we can pair it with specific detergents. So normally detergents are slightly alkaline, so we should try to find enzymes that are also having an optimum pH that is slightly alkaline, so it can pair well. Okay, and then last one, protein in nature. Not sure exactly how this is an advantage lah, so we will just leave that out. Okay, but so far we've already had 4. And of course, depending on how much you explain it, you might not need to write down all 4. Okay, so maybe if you write down 2, but you explain it really well, you can also get these 4 marks. Do take note of the 3 steps. So enzymes, alright, this is the topic. So remember when you answer, if you're answering completely something else, then something is really wrong. Okay, and you see how I make use of part A, the properties, to help me to answer part B, the advantages. Okay, so this is also quite a systematic way so that I don't miss out any points. And thirdly, make sure that you answer the question. So if you look over here, I always try to link it back to the washing machine, or how long is the wash cycle, what is the clothes being stained with. So it makes it more relevant to the question. Okay, so one last question that I want to talk about real quick is 2013, paper 2, question 7. Some of you came up to me and asked, is the mammary gland in the syllabus? Okay, it is not, but hormone is definitely inside the syllabus. Okay, and this is a 3-mark question to define hormone. Now, many of you know the hormone definition, which I have written here, is a chemical substance, okay, that is secreted by an endocrine gland straight into the bloodstream, where it travels and has an effect at the target organ. So maybe if you write this down, you can get 2 marks already, because there's a lot of key concepts that are within this definition itself. How do I then get the final mark? And what is this picture all about anyway? Can't be, Cambridge put a picture there and then you answer something that is not relevant to the picture. Okay, so how we make use of this picture is that we try to link it back to this definition. So I can add on here. So for example, what is the hormone? Whatever information that you need is actually given in the question. So you see, the hormone here we're talking about is prolactin. What is the target organ? Target organ will be mammary glands, right? What is the effect? It is to produce milk. I need to incorporate these 3 things into the definition. Hormone, so prolactin, is secreted by an endocrine gland. We still do not know what this endocrine gland is. It is not the mammary gland, okay? The mammary gland is secreting milk, not the hormone prolactin. So make sure you read the question properly. Into blood, and it travels to the target organ, right? So over here is target organ, so I write down the target organ, which is mammary gland, and over here I want to produce an effect, so the effect is to produce milk. Okay, so to stimulate it to produce milk. Over here we make use of point number 3, which is linking back to the context of the question, or answering the question itself. That's how we get the 3rd mark. Now there's actually another part, part B of this question, which asks what is the function of A over here. So if you look very carefully at A, right, it kind of looks like some sort of vessels, okay, or like some kind of a duct which transports something from all these tissues, okay, around here to the nipple of the breast. What possibly can come out from the breast? There's only one thing, and it's already inside here. Okay, so the function of A will be to transport milk from the mammary glands to the nipple. Alright, or out of the body to reach the baby. These are the 3 questions that I've chosen to talk about for application, and I hope that you find this useful. If you have any question that you're still not sure about that's regarding application, please just WhatsApp me, okay? Okay, thank you very much and all the best, guys.